Welcome to the Pros Corner podcast, where you get to know a local pro on the go. Brought to you by the Salt Lake Real Estate Investors Association, providing tips and tricks so you can take your investing to new levels. Here's your host, Eric Patterson.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Pros Corner podcast. Today's guest is Tyler Tolbert. As a past board member of SLREIA, Tyler is all about providing a high level of service and giving back. His knack for business and real estate started at age 14 when he read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And by 16, he had hired his own personal coach and started his own business. By the time he was 20, he had acquired his Utah real estate license to better serve his real estate investor client base. Over the last 5 years, he's diversified his real estate portfolio with everything from single-family homes to a 30,000 square foot commercial building. He's used creative financing on many of his deals, and currently he's aggressively growing his rental portfolio through multifamily properties. Without further ado, let's just dive right in. So talk to me just a little bit about what are you currently up to? What do you currently do for a living? And what is your affiliation with SLREIA?
Yeah, good question. So I currently do real estate full-time, a little bit of a mix between I've got my real estate license, some wholesales, and basically purchasing apartments. So my main focus is to be my own best customer.
Okay.
And transitioning into as much as personal acquisitions as I can.
Okay.
Right now we do a lot of listings, represent a lot of house flippers. We do some wholesales and help people buy and sell primary residences as well.
Excellent. And Tyler, how long have you been doing this?
A little bit. I'm 27, so I started pretty young when I was 20. So I basically just worked, and that was pretty much it when I started doing real estate. And seven years might be a little bit of a stretch. I've had my license for 7 years, but it took me 2.5 years to even do my first deal. So. Oh
wow! That's not uncommon. You laugh, but that's really not uncommon. I imagine a lot of our membership are struggling with the same situation where they're kind of in this state of wanting to get in but not sure how to do so. A number of factors probably holding them back. One of them being fear. And so give me the story behind what got you interested at such a young age, and what made you take that first step into your first property?
Yeah. So what got me interested was actually similar to what most people's answer would be, I guess, is I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Great book.
When I was 14, I read that and decided that apartments and storage units were where I needed to end up. So from there, I started and failed numerous small businesses through high school. When I graduated high school, I had multiple jobs. I had 2 full-time jobs, as well as ran a small steel manufacturing company. And then when I turned 20, I got my real estate license after going to SLREIA, actually, a couple of times. I got my real estate license because I thought that was the best way to get involved. Mm-hmm. And going to SLREIA was actually the best way to get involved and really project things into the future. So pretty much that's it. And everything kind of just started to grow from there. The contacts that I met at SLREIA, I met some really awesome mentors and personal friends there, and just really started taking action, I guess is the big thing. It was I had nothing to lose at the time. And so there was no reason to not try.
Okay. So it sounds like I'm hearing, you got involved in SLREIA. You met some mentors, right, who helped to guide you along the path, which seems like it was a pretty integral step to you actually taking action. Talk to us a little bit about your first property, that first deal. How did that go down?
Yeah, no, good question. So the first transactions that I actually did were for myself.
Okay.
I bought a owner-occupied fourplex.
Okay.
Was my very first deal. Even as an agent, I couldn't figure out how to represent somebody else at the time, so I had to represent myself.
Oh wow!
But that was my first deal. Was an owner-occupied fourplex. I put 3.5% down in November of 2013. Mm-hmm. I paid $270 for it at the time, and currently the rents on that are just shy of $2,800 a month, and we're in the process of actually subdividing that property right now. So I still own it to this day, and it's probably been the best deal that I've ever done and that I ever will do, which was just a simple stroke of luck and taking action, and just figuring it out as I go.
Well, that's a great story. I appreciate you sharing that. I don't, I think luck is a combination of just preparedness, meeting opportunity, and so I believe that it came at just the right time when you were prepared to take action. So that's excellent. So that's a four. You said a fourplex was your first deal. That's pretty amazing. What was it? Something you found on the MLS or?
Yeah. It was actually it just was on MLS, and it had been there for 3 months. So over the course of those 3 months, I had to write my offer 6 times to the seller.
Yikes.
Before they would work with me, and it basically was, to be honest, it was all I could afford. I was working with Matt Atkinson at the time as far as doing my financing, and that literally was like the very max of what I could afford. And that property happened to be the cheapest property on the market. It was listed at $300,000.
Okay.
$300,000. And I knew that my ceiling was $270, so I just kept offering. And after 6 times sending over a written offer, the agent was finally like, "Okay, here's the deal. Let's do something, because you're obviously not going to stop. So let's just agree that we'll go under contract, and you can't ask for any repairs at all." And I was like, "Okay, it is what it is." So we went under contract. The property looked decent. For what it was, it looked okay. So we just proceeded with the purchase.
Excellent. What I gleaned from that was a negotiating tactic you likely won't find anywhere else, and that is, if they don't accept your first offer, keep offering until they accept it. So just wear them down. So yeah.
It was right on MLS. Everybody that has internet could have bought that property.
Sure. And it couldn't have been, once you bought the property, and you said you still have it to this day, so obviously it's performing well for you. But I imagine there must have been some challenges along the way. Talk to me about, and if not, if there weren't challenges there, talk to me about just one of the most memorable challenges that you've had in one of your properties that you've acquired, and how you've gotten over it.
Yeah. So that property has been a lot of challenges, actually.
Okay.
When we bought it, we inherited all of the tenants, which I've learned now to screen. When you're buying a multi-unit, you need to screen not only the owner, but you need to screen the tenants that the owner has in there, because what had happened was the owner just placed anybody that could fog a mirror in the property to have income. And being my first deal, I didn't know any better, so I just bought it and ended up going through the eviction process in the first 2 weeks of owning the property, and kicking. Well, one of the tenants voluntarily left after we actually filed the eviction, and we've had everything from mainline sewer breaks to having to jackhammer up floors in units, from flooding to. There's been a plethora of problems. The biggest thing I think that we've done effectively to overcome those is we don't spend our cash flow.
Okay.
So my property, it rents. When I bought it was renting for $2,600 a month. My payment, I think, is $1,800, and every piece of discrepancy, leftover money there, goes into a business account that is designed to help weather the storm. So going through that eviction, having to replace the main line, having to jackhammer up the floor, having to deal with vacancy during turnovers and things like that, that fund has basically helped keep the property afloat, because I have not used that money to live on. So.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. I think there's a lesson to be had, and that is capital reserves, keeping a fund specifically for any sort of problems that might arise. And do you have kind of a rule of thumb as to how much you keep in that fund?
I don't. yet necessarily, because I don't pull money out of any of my rental properties at this point in time. We just let it build.
Sure.
So I don't. A lot of guys use 6 months. I just let it keep rolling.
Okay.
I don't need it. So until there's enough money there to go and buy another property or to do something else, I'm not taking it out and buying a Tesla or a new car, going to Hawaii or anything like that.
Right.
So we just kind of let it accumulate until you hit critical mass.
Excellent. For a young guy, you are extremely wise in terms of not wanting to be wooed by all these doodads, as Robert Kiyosaki would say. So that's great. So as we wrap up here, any words of advice or encouragement for our listeners out there who are members who might be, again, going back to that whole fear, might not be taking action due to fear or even analysis paralysis?
I think my biggest thing would probably be to stop looking for deals. You don't find deals. You find solutions and create deals.
Nice.
So I think most people are out there trying to, I bought mine on the MLS, sure, and there are opportunities on the MLS without a doubt. But I think most people are trying to find a cookie cutter fit in the box formula transaction, whether it's 70% of ARV minus repairs or 1% of gross rents equals purchase price, or whatever their formula is. My advice would be to stop looking for that and start finding people that you can create solutions for. And when you create a solution, then you build an opportunity. Excellent
advice. One last thing before you go. I'm curious, you're going to be presenting a deal that you're currently working on or some level of expertise to the audience. Could you give us a glimpse of kind of what you're planning to talk about? Yeah, I actually had thought about talking about that fourplex. Like I said, I still own that property. Okay.
We're going through the subdivision process right now. It sits on an acre worth of ground, and we are in the process of subdividing that lot and building 3 new construction homes that we will then sell and pull a handsome, modest amount of equity out of that. And I will have done it with no further money than the down payment 4 years ago.
Awesome.
Out of pocket.
Excellent. Well, definitely looking forward to that, and I'm sure our listeners will be too. Anything else you'd like to contribute while I have you, Tyler?
No, not necessarily. I think keep going to SLREIA and take action.
Awesome. Okay, great. Well, I'm going to end it for right there. Thanks again. Thanks for taking the time to speak to me and as well as the listeners, SLREIA membership here. And we look forward to hearing you speak live at the Pros Corner in August. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.